Yeah.
Yes, and I'm doing real well. I don't want everybody to.
It's doing great.
It's okay. I'm early.
Yeah.
I've never seen her stuff.
Very close. Grocery shop.
Well,
First she was
I wrote-
leave the bags.
Yeah.
Jean,
Gene, I'm here.
I'm here, I'm putting it away, I stand there and do some dishes. Did you finish watching the baseball game? I've got it. And then she come out and
She fell into.
then
Worked
Courtney
out
and.
great.
Baseball. So I got her to get fingers like it.
No, she lives in office.
All right, it is 4:00. Let's call the June 12th meeting of the Harbor Commission to order. Thank you all for coming. Victor, would you do a roll call, please?
Bill Brown,
Here.
Kathy Macho,
Here,
Lisa Nichol,
here,
Sherman Halleck,
here,
Karen Stroud,
here.
Bill McCullough,
Here.
Greg Fisher,
Here.
Jim Bartlett,
Here.
Don Baker.
Here.
And we do also have Chip via Zoom. So cannot vote, but he is attending via Zoom.
Excellent.
So we have a quorum.
I'd like to welcome Lisa. Glad you're here, back from the trip. Good for you. And sorry to miss last meeting, but that was on Zoom also. That's a lot of us were, but the 6 that we needed to be here. So thank you for those who showed up for being here. First item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the May 8th meeting. They were in your packet. Does anybody have any corrections? Well, I got one where it says at the end of it, Chairman Bartlett adjourned the meeting.
Oh,
And I don't hear.
no, I missed that.
I was gonna say.
So let's make that change.
Good call.
And
Goes to us. Yeah.
I wasn't on Zoom. Cause we didn't have.
Oh, you didn't have a good connection.
I didn't have a.
So let's make that change also. So I would entertain a motion to approve with corrections. Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same for opposed. Great, thanks for getting those out, Victor. Approval of the agenda. Any comments on that before we move forward? And then public comment. Good to see you all here. You'll be up in a little bit. So
Pardon?
You'll be up in a little
Right,
bit.
I'm just waving.
The only thing I have to add is that we're gonna have the same Dean's gonna work and Larry's gonna work. We'll have coverage on the water almost every day from noon till 9. And I thought they both did a good job last year. We stayed under budget significantly, and we plan to do the same thing this year, unless I hear otherwise.
No, the commission was very happy with the way things went, so.
They both have a good understanding of education, if we need to enforce, but they're out there, and I think that I appreciate your support of adding the other offices, and it definitely helped. So I just was working on the 4th of July schedule, right, just a little bit ago, and it's like to have somebody out there during the day because Dean works till midnight that night. It allows me to have some from 11 till midnight, so 11 a.m. till midnight, so it's really helped to have everybody out there. And I just talked to him today and he's looking forward to it, so thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I add to that waterfront? Mary Jane will not be coming back to the Ford Park this year. She was suffering a little bit last year physically and a little bit upstairs, and her son talked about it coming back this season. She pretty much said she didn't want to come back in.
It's time.
It'll just be Bob down there, but Bob's also gonna step in, not this coming weekend, but the weekend after, and we'll be up to speed down there with Bob for sure. Even got him a red shirt this year.
Is he gonna work a few more hours then?
Yeah. Yep.
Good.
Yep.
Good. Any other public comment? Then we'll move on to old business, Fort Park improvements update. I know the plan was talked about at the last meeting. Victor, you were Bill, any
Yeah.
comments? Where are we at?
What happened was, we ran out of time to do the, paving that we had talked about doing. We at one point in time thought maybe we would hear from Mark, back in May, and we'd have a special meeting, we'd be able to bring it up then. And so it got delayed and, really was too deep into the season already to be able to do the paving on the north side of the south driveway there. It was suggested by the commission that we do like a chipstone sort of a thing. Near where people unload their kayaks. And it turns out that there's a drain there that is not rated to be driven over. So that got kiboshed by Lucas. And Lucas has acquired a new paving paint device that they're using on Bay Street as we speak. And so council decided to designate the furthest south parking spot along the Irish building as 10-minute parking for loading and unloading. And he's gonna paint that. So that's what happened.
Oh,
Can I ask a question related to it? Is there any way to add to the surface so it's a little bit more forgiving if somebody drops a paddleboard or a kayak right onto the
Which
ground?
surface are you talking about?
The parking lot.
Asphalt?
Yeah. on the
Make the
asphalt.
asphalt more forgiving?
Yeah, well, you know, you have to put something over it. Whether it be chipstone or I don't know if that affects the drainage for
Now,
even
one thought that
whatever.
occurred to me a long time ago for that sort of thing would be to have some sort of little dolly that's just little two-wheeled thing you can get all stuff around with. It would just be for communal use, but I don't know if that's a good idea or not.
I don't think we need that. I think it's really just pulling it off cars and making sure that it just doesn't land flat on the hard surface and crack the chip or
Way
whatever.
around it.
Unless you can put wood chips or something down.
so Karen, you're talking about the lane that people would, or in that parking
Yeah,
spot,
Yes, exactly,
to put something down the car could drive over, but may not damage the hull of it.
exactly.
Rubber mat would be the best, if you could stay there.
I'm mad. Yeah,
I'm sorry, I can't hear you,
Wood
John.
chips would float away.
A rubber mat on each
Wow.
side maybe,
yeah,
and then at night we take them up, roll them up.
yeah, that
Well,
would be a
we're
good.
not gonna be doing it every night.
No,
Yeah, that
absolutely.
that wouldn't happen.
It'd have to be something that went down and stayed.
Yeah.
Well,
See that.
why don't you pass that comment along to Lucas and see if he's got something laying around the boneyard that might work.
I'll ask you.
I have a question also, that before we start spending any money on paving or anything like that, don't we feel like we might need a professional to come in and look at the subcommittee's list of concerns and needs and wants and our desires for the park? And maybe really have them come up with a layout and a plan for us before we start, let's pave this and let's take down this and let's, yeah.
Typically, when we do projects like that, it needs to go through the planning commission, the tree board will look at it. City staff will comment it, and there will be a professionally,
that
you
can
know,
lay it out.
I'm not gonna draw the final line that they're gonna do the building from. We're,
Right.
at this point, if you saw the sketch with, that's just like a collection of ideas and concepts. That's
Okay.
not,
So before
something
we
we're gonna-
spend any big money,
right,
we're gonna, yeah.
yeah, the first big money would probably be the engineering after we all toss it around.
But as far as the temporary fix that Billy, you were talking about, Lucas is under direction for Harbor Commission and Council, gonna get quotes to just expand that, see what it would cost to expand the driveway leading to the launch ramp. Just to see what kind of money we're actually talking about. And if it's something that the commission and the council agrees to, that would be a fall project or a spring project, but I think at least what you're talking about is more of those long-term, large-scale.
Yeah, if we're gonna make a turnaround and a roundabout and I get the part when boats are sitting there parked and someone's trying to get around them, it is pretty tight there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now, one of the kind of framework things relative to that is that Bay Street is scheduled to be completely rebuilt, including subsurface, sometime 5-8 years. And so that's kind of the dartboard timeframe that we're looking at. So, because at that point in time, the equipment, the experts, all that are gonna be right there. And so economically, if we are gonna do that sort of work, that would be a smart time to do it maybe. So this isn't anything that we're gonna, other than widening, what we're talking about doing is on the drive, just from where the parking by Irish is to the launch, just that section, widening that by about 5 feet so that you can get 2 full lanes, so that we don't have, it's really not wide enough for 2 large vehicles to drive through, so.
No, it's not, depending how the one parks with their boat on the right, yeah.
And the other, just to make it more interesting, if we do a long-term thing, we would probably lose whatever work we had put into anything, whatever we put into
Change it.
doing
Yeah.
that, so we'll have to weigh that.
Lisa, I don't believe that the entire Harbor Commission has really weighed in on the draft plan or preliminary plan that was viewed last month at this table, and neither has council, so we're still in my opinion,
Yeah,
the
that's
very
what I
front
saw,
door
we're
of this
talking like
stuff. And
40,000 and gonna do this and that, I'm just like, okay, let's make sure that we're not doing it twice, as you
Right.
were saying, yeah.
Right, that was
so there hasn't
a
been.
committee of 4 of us.
Yeah.
One of whom is no longer on the commission.
Yeah.
Kind of came up with these ideas, bouncing around, got a little help, I did confer with, some city staff and other community people who expressed interest. So we're really early in planning stages.
So Bill, is it fair to say that the sketch you presented last month is the report back to the Harbor Commission for what you'd like to see down there?
I would not say that that's what we want to see. I would say that's a menu. That's not a final, this is a recommendation. These are the things that we think are worth considering. And then we ought to kick it around at the commission. I mean, one of the things is we kind of laid it out to see how we could maximize the green space in the front and the number of trailers. I don't know that everybody agrees we want to maximize the number of trailers, so.
Or that plan would allow for an increase, because that center lane frankly, isn't gonna work, for boats with trailers. But why don't we put this on the July meeting? We'll all be here. We all have had a chance to look at the sketch and beat this up a little bit, and then let's talk about it. Because it's, I don't think at this table we've come to the agreement that we want to do anything down there, let alone a plan that's as significant as moving the building. So
I saw
we need to get that off of our table first. Yes, ma'am.
My question more for Kyle, with the addition of a spot for people to drop kayaks, is that going to be monitored by anybody?
We will monitor.
I mean, we're not in season yet. I was out this morning, came back 2.5 hours later, the same car was still there. They used it to unload kayaks and paddled off. I get that. But I think that they figured that, well, there's nobody here. Who's gonna say
Have
anything?
we erected our sign yet?
Is this sign there?
Lucas, I think it just ordered that
Yeah,
sign
until we
this
get
week,
this-
so it might be a week or two.
We'll monitor it.
before we do the sign.
It has been.
Right, so-
I just
Yes,
have
ma'am.
one question. But as you were talking about, this was sort of I got the idea that what you proposed last time was these are things we'd kind of like to see, and we're not exactly sure how it all works out. But I'm also understanding that you're saying we're somewhat tying this to when Bay Street is done. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm thinking, how much time and effort do we really want to spend now to look
I'd
at this
suggest
if
that-
we're really 5 years out? But that's my only.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Not stay on the.
Hang on just a second. What Bill's suggesting would be great if it worked out. From my perspective, if we're gonna need a grant to do anything down there, because it's gonna be a significant amount of money, no matter what we do, other than a little bit of paving and a little bit of widening. Whether we could even get that done in time to match up with the Bay Street project, in my mind, is a real stretch.
Got it.
So
Okay, I
I don't
understand.
feel a lot of pressure to meet personally the Bay Street obligation unless everything fell into place. And with our experience with grants with the state of Michigan, I think that's a lot to look forward to.
No,
So I think
understand.
we've got a plan now from the subcommittee that's done its work. Let's get it on the table and talk about it next July. And everybody's had a chance to look at it, and then we can go from there. Yes.
One last question. We've been talking about it for a while and making good decisions based on future. Even though we may need a grant, is it prudent now to create an accrual? We know it's going to be a big dollar amount. we start now and you don't do anything for 5 years and put X number of dollars away, at least you have something in the bank for the project between now and the time we actually pull the trigger.
I think even more important than that is to recognize the bids open in 2 weeks for the bathroom project.
I know.
And whatever we think we're going to be saving for Ford Park.
That's a good template.
On the back burner
That's what I
until
mean.
we get going through that.
That's a good template.
So we've got the cart ahead of the horse in a variety of different places, and that's why I want to back up and look at it in July and go from there and see if we can come to some consensus.
Jim, just one last comment. Is the park open and ready to go? No issues?
Yeah, we unlock Ford Park, we unlock the bathrooms every morning, we lock them at dusk. Everything's good to go.
Everything's good to go. The ramp, the water hasn't torn anything out this winter or whatever.
On that end, I'm not sure, because I don't,
No, I think we're in good shape.
Okay.
yeah,
Usually,
It's okay.
yeah, I know the bathrooms are good, and then we unlock them and lock them, I know last,
Right.
and they're clean. That's good.
I would just want to say, with the Harbor Commission should keep its focus on what it thinks is best for the marina and whether it's Ford Park or the docks. And then, you make your recommendations to council, and then council will figure out, well, can we afford this or not? And so if you think that it's ultimately that we need something done at Ford Park, you present that plan. Of course, cognizant of the amount of money we have, but that's really up to the council then to figure out, all right, the Harbor Commission recommended we need this change at Ford Park. Then the council will try to figure out a way to make it work, or say, you know what, we don't have the money for it, scale back this project. So anyway, just keep that, you're thinking about what's best for the committee. Like, I know money's it's an important factor, but try to keep it on the policy side, so let council, your elected officials deal with figuring out how to pay for this stuff.
That's, it's always been prudent from this table since I've been involved that we don't send a pie in the sky project up to council, that we send them something that meets a need that we've identified at the table and we've found a way to make it happen, and that we can show how we can pay for it through the revenues that we have with this thing. So I think that balance is what I feel an obligation to send to council. And if we have a need that we really want, then we'll find something to pay for it and make it go from there. I think so. Point taken.
I just want to add one last thing, because I worked with Bill on this.
I
as
can't
well.
hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry. We had talked about trying to do a temporary fix potentially, if it would work out to, as Bill said, widen the bottom of the southern part of the drive there, so that there's not such a congestion of cars in single file trying to get up to the boat launch. So that was something that we saw as sooner than later, if at all possible. And I don't know, it's $40,000, it's not cheap, but it could be at least a fix until we could come up with a final plan.
That's what Lucas
something we
is,
could talk about.
Lucas is.
That's
Yeah.
that.
Right,
So we should hopefully get close to summer for that, and then
yeah.
come back with the options, because he's getting quotes not just for, from different companies, but also for the difference between widening it 6 feet, 8 feet, 4 feet, so we understand the different, and then we can decide here, how wide does it really need to be?
So it's still moving forward.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I think that's the right way to do it. Okay, moving on to Harbor Master Building bid process update. I just did it, but go ahead, Victor.
Yeah, really quick, bids are due to city on June 21st. Mike, you said, I think, three contractors were there today.
Yep, and 3 last Monday.
So we do have a lot of interest.
Yep.
So what that means is usually good news for the price comparison, right? We might get some good prices out of it, hopefully. So council will then decide, review bid as July 15th meeting. And of course, we can also take the bids to Harbor Commission just for you guys to look at, but council is the one making the decision on selecting the bid or not.
I would think that's council's decision. We've already.
Of course, yeah, I'm just saying, I
We've
could,
done our work on this.
I will update you at your July meeting is gonna be July the second Wednesday anyway, so. I can just update you guys on the bids that we got back.
Yep. I think that'd be great. Yeah, let's keep our fingers crossed. So I happened to be there when one bidder came in and they brought a crew and went right through the place. So I know there's activity on it. And also Mark Boudet's been involved with every one of these contractors who are coming in for it. So he seems to be doing his job, which is good to see also. So good to see that. New business. First meeting of the year is this one, the official one that we have. And we do election of officers, which is the chairman and the vice chairman, as you saw in your notes on this thing. So I will open the table for nominations for the chairman.
I would nominate that you continue as chairman.
You sure?
Um,
Motion's been made, for Bartlett. Is there a second?
Yes, second.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion on that?
I have a question just in terms of, as we go forward, and if this isn't the right time, then we can bring it up later, you know. Is there someone else? You know, there's a lot of people on here that are new. More people need to know what the role of the chair is, so someone else could step in. I mean, I know Bill's here, but I'm not minimizing that. I'm just saying, you know, you have would be large shoes to fill at some point in the future if something happened to you or to both of you. And I
kind
could
of need to say, Kathy.
Huh?
And with the new members, and two of them are here today, just because I heard they were appointed, I did reach out and say, if you ever have any questions or
Mhm.
want to ask, please don't.
Because there's
hesitate
just
to
a lot of
contact me.
knowledge in running this and a lot of stuff in, how the harbor operates, how the city operates.
Well, both Bill and I have been around a long time.
I know.
So I think there is some continuity here, but as time goes on,
Yeah.
and my term is up in December, I think. And whether I get reappointed, who knows?
Right.
That's the.
Yeah, I think it's just something we should be thinking about for next year now, instead of at the first meeting, when it kind of comes on the plate. So maybe thinking about, at least so we can have a succession and have some people start learning some things and learning some history and getting involved so that you have some kind of a succession and not just like boom, and now you guys are at, So it's something to think about for next
We do
year.
our elections every year at this table, and
Right.
everybody has the opportunity to bring a name forward at the table.
Right.
So I think the opportunity for change, if it's desired, is as frequent here as it is with any outfit that the city has, or that any of the other organizations are.
So if I'm hearing Kathy and Lisa, right, I'm also hearing that, for example, in the city, I have all our departments do a succession plan for, might just turn one in, if something happens to them. You and Bill have been here so long, you have the most knowledge that for when you guys are no longer chair or vice chair, like, some people, I think this is what I'm getting at, might not know everything there is to know because they don't have your knowledge. So is there a way that maybe we want to set up some sort of like.
Well, why don't you just keep appointing us?
That's not me, but I get what they're saying.
In the unlikely event that, the two of us went down with the ship one late evening or something like that. John's been here a very long time. Mike has knowledge. Bill's been here quite a while. And so Karen's been here for quite a while. So as time goes by, everybody gains.
I guess that's what I'm kind of asking
Knowledge
our
and
other
insight.
members, since Sharon and I are new, to think about for next year of maybe taking a role, whether it's the vice chair and then you're moving up or you sit there for a while, but to think about that. Not that we want to get rid of Bill and Jim, but think about, you guys that have been here a lot longer than us.
Yeah.
If
Well,
I
let's
may add
let's
to
address
that,
the question on the floor first as we go
Let's
through this.
finish this.
Sorry.
And then we can talk about the section planning at some other time. And Kathy, I appreciate you bringing it up. Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion from the
I have
table?
one more comment.
Mhm.
In my humble opinion, Jim is really good at running the meetings,
Yes.
in addition to
The
that
history.
sort of thing. I have run the meeting a few times. I would much rather he did it. So, so that's kind of a factor. I don't mind doing it at all. But I think he's really good at it. So, there you go.
You've done a fine job. but when you
Yeah,
had us-
yes, you did.
Yeah.
I would-
And kind of you to say that.
Thank you.
Let's get back to the motion on the floor. Any further discussion? And Victor, you want to do a roll call vote, please?
We have a motion by John Baker and second by Sharon Mahalik to nominate Jim Bartlett as chair. Lisa Nichol,
Yes.
Kathy Macho,
Yes.
Bill Brown,
Yes.
Sharon Mahalik,
Yes.
Karen Stroud,
Yes.
Bill McCullough,
Yes.
Jim Bartlett,
Yes.
Greg Fisher,
Yes.
and last but not least, John Baker.
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate your trust. I will continue to work hard to move forward. Let's open up the floor for the vice chairman position.
Nominate Bill McCullough, the vice chair.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Victor, would you do roll call vote, please?
Lisa Nichol,
Yes.
Kathy Macho,
Yes.
Bill Brown,
Yes.
Sharon Mahalik,
Yes.
Karen Stroud,
Yes.
Greg Fisher,
Yes.
John Baker.
Yes.
Jim Bartlett,
Yes.
and Bill McCullough.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you very much, all of you.
And I am city manager for the bylaws, serves as secretary, though if you guys want to change the bylaws and make one of you take minutes too, I think.
We're very glad you're here. Thank you.
I do have a question about that because the bylaws do speak to secretary and I was a secretary for a
Right.
while. But you always took great notes and I just looked at them and they were always great. So that secretary position is no longer going to exist then.
Well, it's just, the
Right?
city manager is the
You will be
secretary.
the secretary, so no
Kind
additional
of a de
person
facto
appointed.
position.
Yeah. So that's great.
And I like it because then if he can't be here, it's somebody from his staff would be, and then we're all
Right.
to move.
Right.
Yeah, Bill.
JB, before we get to it, and maybe it's better placed with the bylaw review, but longevity, interest, we don't have a formal non-voting position for either chair or vice chair, where knowledge could be accessed by the new person. And I'm just proposing consideration for and some thought process as we move forward at some point in time. Maybe we create that type of position so that we don't let you get away from us. Okay, so maybe you want him to get away. I don't know. But I'm just saying, knowledge
Well,
is,
this is back to Kathy's succession thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that is actually semi-customary, a number of organizations, when there's a emeritus position.
Under bylaws.
And,
Yeah, it might be in some bylaws, but just something to think about.
Yeah.
Because there is a lot of knowledge. And next up would be Michael Johnson. He's got the same knowledge background. Oh, hi, Michael.
I'd propose Noah Course if we're looking at a non-voting position. Someone to step back in and to step in with a lot of knowledge,
Yeah.
a lot of considerations.
see, that's part of the trick with a handoff is we don't know who is going to be re-upped in the next year. Because both Laura and Tom Graham, who were not renewed for, at council's discretion, have served for quite a long time, and Laura in particular was very knowledgeable of what was going on. And she was a loss from that perspective. So there's a lot of things that fit into this puzzle.
And we don't have this problem just with this board, it's also with other boards, of course, and typically in smaller cities, what you see is, you have supposed to have a strong staff support for these.
And we do.
Well, you have Michael Johnson, who's been here, the harbor master for a while, that can have, great knowledge, serve as a great knowledge base for what's actually happening in the marina and on the water. And then, you have Nick as a finance person, and you have me, who've been here less than 5 years, but as I gain more experience and more understanding of, because when I first started at Harbor Commission, I was fresher than other people, right? I didn't have much water experience, but I'm learning a lot more too. So as, you have staff that's been here too, they can also serve as that kind of knowledge base too. So it's not just, you don't just have to rely on the two that are chair and vice chair right now.
And I think we're in good position with that stuff. Yep, so. All right, let's move on to the NM boat exhibit.
Yes. Hello, my name is Kristen Baylog. I'm the executive. Pardon?
The floor is yours.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Thank you. I jumped right into it.
That's good.
Efficient. You all received in your packet a flyer of what I'm here to talk about today. And as the executive director of the Historical Society, we are the hosts of the Blessing of the Fleet event, as you all know, and thank you for your approval to do the water activities that we've done every year. And in addition to that, staying in theme with this year's Blessing of the Fleet, we're doing an exhibit called Fair Winds and Following Seas. And so I've been working with the NM Sloop historian, Bill Brown, and we've come up with a few other ways in which we would like to celebrate the NM Sloop here in Harbor Springs. And kind of keep it tied into Blessing of the Fleet, but that's not what the priority is here. The priority is that this vessel has its own heyday, and the owners of this boat also are celebrated and have a moment to celebrate with the public. And that makes more sense later in the year. So while I wasn't planning this event until recently with Bill, we would like to utilize the merchant dock to have a public event. This was done for the 80th celebration. I have talked to Michael, the harbor master, about this, just to get any concerns that he might have. And so I'm just here to get permission to utilize the merchant dock in that same way from 2 to 4 for public viewing. It's sort of an open-ended, I'd like a little flexibility in that time because I haven't gotten enough information on exactly what worked for the 80th. So I'm open to any feedback on the public viewing hours. But we do plan on going back to the museum from 5 to 7, a private invitation for the NM current owners and past owners, and probably weaving that in with the 17 Squares out of Charlevoix, those owners, and doing a little private celebration and letting all those memories kind of come to surface and for a couple hours at the museum. So that is the reason for having the 2 to 4. Any questions?
I think it's a great idea. I was at the 80th and like to be the 90th. So
What day of the week?
Like to be here for that.
It is, I'm sorry,
Oh,
why
I
is that
thought you
not
know.
on there? What's the date not? August 9th, right at the top, the
Right.
very top of mine.
Day of the week.
Day of the week.
Oh, August
it's a
9th.
Friday.
Friday, thank you.
Look at us all.
Yeah.
I thought we talked about it Thursday.
It's August 9th, the Friday based
It
on,
is a Friday.
yes. Bill, can you help me with how we picked out that date?
It was a date that the racing calendar didn't have a conflict on. Most of the boats will be here. They race the next day, 7, the 9th, 10th and 11th.
The 52s.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the best I could do with Dunn as far as trying to coordinate whatever other activity is going on. And since we'll be there 2 to 4 and only at the merchant dock, certainly up to you and the commission to see if there's any other way that needed to be, but it didn't sound like it would be any type of an issue.
I don't think it's a problem.
No, I think that's the most appropriate dock for it too, from an access standpoint. Yeah.
And the reason that we've talked about the NM Square, I mean, the 17 Squares, Stephen Kircher and I talked about the 90th a couple of years back, and we're using this as a template for the 100th anniversary. They are also celebrating their 90th. They are also a Michigan-made boat, and the Historical Society has enjoined the NM fleet in petitioning the state for historical designation because we're made in Michigan, Michigan lumber, Michigan people, and they're warm to the idea to give us the designation as a historical treasure.
So the purpose, thank you, Bill, and so I think I put that on here, the very last line. The purpose of the cocktail party and is to gain some financial support to support the process and continuing the ongoing efforts to put the NM on the National Historic Register. And that does cost money in the process, and then getting a plaque that says so. So Bill and I are working to, we'll be charging an admission for, it will be a ticketed event for the celebration, but for all good things. Supporting.
For the need for money is that, you guessed it, legal fees.
Yeah.
Imagine that, huh?
I call them processing.
Well, it's a really good party.
Absolutely, lots of cheap booze and a high ticket.
So, we, hope, we thank you for your support. And we hope that this will also give the public some knowledge and awareness of what this boat means to Northern Michigan, both of these vessels. And of course, we hope to continue, hosting more visitors to our exhibit at the museum and in preparation with the NM as we carry out the process for the National Historic Register.
Could I just raise a suggestion, maybe move at the History Museum to 6 to 8, because that hour to get those boats off the dock and back to moorings, it's pretty tight.
Okay,
That might be a good idea.
sure, yeah,
I'm glad to hear you say that, Michael, because we don't want them at the dock where other customers can't use the facility while everybody's cocktailing up at the.
Yeah.
And that's prime space on a Friday night.
okay.
The beer and fries.
So if you open up that dock at noon so they could get set up for them, but then at 4 o'clock, they clear, and by 4:30, the dock's available to the general public. That would make sense to me.
Okay, thank you. Bill, you got it.
Yeah, it was just the picture shows you wrapped it off on the inside, which I think is great. Are you just gonna use the one side of that dock, so the other side's still available?
Or it boats on both sides.
Yeah,
of the
I
dock.
was saying we're all
At the
involved.
end, at the very last, there were some at the very end.
I
Yeah.
got them.
Yeah.
I could beat it right up for those.
And
3
it's a
hours.
new shopper's dock as compared to 10 years ago.
Right,
So
yeah.
when everyone's standing on it, we won't have the same.
Your feet won't get
Same
wet.
concern.
I mean, I'm just thinking about the fact that, the only thing that would be left would be the T on the end. And, in recent years, we get some guy with a big boat shows up and decides he's just gonna take that and then go shopping, and then there's no way. I don't know.
That was my problem last year. That was my bad for not. Yes.
So I would not have a problem as long as we're leaving the outside of the T, like enforced, just
Loading zone only.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know.
You get all those boats off
I
the
think
plane.
you're gonna fill the whole thing right
I
up.
use the whole thing.
Yeah, I do too. There's more
It's only
boats
a
in the
few
water
hours.
this year than there were 10 years ago. More in them.
It's not that long.
And something more.
Yeah.
25 existing NMs that are actually floating.
There are, actually floating. There'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, be 20 or 21 actually floating.
See how many of them come.
Yeah.
Fill the south end of the T last, Michael.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
5, 14, and 16. Five will actually come out of repair this week. But 14 isn't, that's in the barn. And 16, I do not know where 16 is, missing in action. Same with 15.
Okay, anything else? I think by consensus, it's green across the table here. So have fun with it. If we didn't want you off the dock
Can
at
I
4.
offer any of you a blessing of the fleet hat for this season?
You can
It's
offer.
not a
an invite
bribe,
to
so
that
it's a
cocktail
gift.
party. That's the one I want.
Which one do you want?
I want the invite to the cocktail party.
Oh, yeah.
We'll have to talk to the
Trust me,
fleet
you'll get
captain
one.
for that. Would anybody like a hat? Don't be shy. Okay.
You there?
Okay.
I've already got one.
Thank you.
You have one?
Yep, I got mine.
Okay.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure.
You have one?
Do now. Thank you.
Chief, you have one?
Oh, remember.
All right, let's move on to item 3 under new business. Commercial license review. It should be a slam dunk. Victor, you want to walk through this real quick?
Very quickly, again, we received commercial license from Outfitter to use Sport Park. Again, they're so again, commercial license, they do this annually, just kind of like Irish Pro Shop, Wall Street, and a couple others get annual license for Sport Park. And we've seen no issue with granting the license. Our code, our Harbor Commission rules don't put a limit to the number of licenses. They just go to the Harbor Commission for advice on if it's gonna impact the activity at Fort Park differently than years prior. But since, in my view, this is the same license that we grant annually, I think it should be okay.
I can't hear you very well.
So this is a license we grant annually, and I
Okay.
don't see an issue of it affecting Fort Park activity differently.
So I have a question. Isn't it pretty much the same people that come in for them for the charter and commercial almost every year?
No, I went for the commercial,
Maybe.
yes, but the
Maybe.
charter, for
The
example,
charter may be a little different.
we got a different fishing charter this year than we had previously.
Okay, because I was kind of wondering, instead of a year, could it be a little longer, maybe 2 years? And is it something we could look at in October? If they know they're gonna do it, get them approved, and then they're ready for the next.
Well, here,
spring.
this is a good example of why you have to be flexible, Lisa, because the outfitter does this every year. And yet they didn't come until now with the license.
Well, I saw that.
We try to steer them toward October. We look at them in October, and if there's any questions or headaches, Victor knows about it, but they actually have to come to us with the license. And we can't make them do that,
Okay.
so.
Because I see we have unlimited on the commercial, and it's really just the charter that we have a limit of the 5. So that's why I was curious. There is a way it could be longer than a year.
We changed the rules, there used to be a limit to commercial,
Okay.
and then we changed the rules a few years ago, because there was some concern that, on one hand, I don't think people thought it wasn't fair that you just, and it was the same for people that what happened if someone else came for a commercial license, they would be denied because, or if someone new came in and then someone who was a current normal, I would say, someone who reapplies annually, then they would get denied. So we left it open-ended, so that way the Harbor Commission could decide whether or not there's too much congestion of commercial activity or not. So they may decide that, at a point in the future, if someone applies in June, but the people who applied maybe in March or April, and we approved 2, and then the Harbor Commission may say, this is hypothetical in the future, like, those 2 commercial licenses are providing, there's way too much activity at the Ford Park with those 2 licenses. We're not granting any more this year.
Right.
So, I think that was kind of the reasoning there. So you technically can apply anytime for a license. They can come in August and get the license. If they don't have their license until August, they're violating our rules and regulations. We have to enforce them.
Okay.
So, but they have to pay the same amount for the license
Whether,
regardless.
yeah, whether it's early or late.
We should probably let Josh know that that parking spot is not gonna be available for his trucks to stay there, yeah. Because they do park there and stay there quite a bit, so. yeah. Or I'll enforce it.
You could pull in, unload his stuff and get out.
Yes.
Yeah, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should
That'd be
say 10 or
Right.
15 or something.
So unanimous consent there for.
Well, I think we need a motion to approve the commercial license application from the outfit.
So move.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Abstain from this. I have no financial interest, but I certainly have a personal interest.
Thanks, John. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same for opposed. Motion carries, and Victor, you'll let Mr. Baker know.
Yes.
And tell him that at least one of us at this table wants to see him in October.
I won't name names.
It's ready for ski season.
Yeah, let's start thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just.
All right, bylaws review, Victor. And this is something we've kind of dealt with for all the years I've been on the table. It's an interesting setup, so run through it.
Yeah, so this was brought up by council. So in our bylaws, Article 2 states that the number of commissioners on the board is 9 plus a mayor or the mayor's designee, so for a total of 10 board members. Article 4, Section 1 states that 5 is required for a quorum to hold a meeting. Typically, so that what's odd about this is boards typically have an odd number of people on their boards, or typically the quorum is more than half of those on the board. So, our DDA, for example, is 9 members, a quorum is 5, that's a majority of the board needs to be present to hold a meeting. In this case, there's 10, but there's the 5 required to hold a meeting. But that's half, that's not quite a majority. It further complicates things. We have a section later in the bylaws that basically says that only a majority of those present is needed to make a motion to go forward. So if there's 5 people present, 3 vote yes, that project or whatever it is goes forward. So that's 3 out of the 10 members. So it kind of gets more complicated as we go down the road. So in my opinion, based on this section alone that council had asked us to review, there are 4 options. You can increase the quorum from 5 to 6. You can reduce membership from 10 to 9, keeping the quorum at 5, or increase membership from 10 to 11 and increase the quorum to 6. Or again, you could also go back to council and say, we're fine with the way it is, and then let council decide what to do on it. But I think those are, with regard to this section, those are the options we have. I did make a note that if you go with the reducing or increasing membership, it would also need to be a city ordinance change, because in our city code, we have a section about the Harbor Commission city code, which details the membership there. So that would have to be changed in the city code as well. And to make an amendment to the bylaws, whatever way the Harbor Commission wants to go, it can't happen here. We'd have to bring you language for the next meeting for you to vote on. and then it would go to council to make a just final decision.
I just have one question. Why is Harbor Commission dealing with this setup? Isn't this the council's
Council setup is, so the bylaws say,
advisory body for marine things?
so the bylaws state that if, to change these bylaws, the Harbor Commission needs a vote on it. So it can't, it's not just the council, to change the code, that's a council decision. But since this is specific in the bylaws, you also need, the other way to do it is council can make a change to the code of the the membership numbers, and that would just trickle down to the bylaws. But if the solution is to increase the quorum from 5 to 6, then that's something that the Harbor Commission has to do, and then the council has to do.
Or you're saying if we pick number B and we reduced our membership to 9, which is similar to some of the other boards and commissions, and we stayed at the quorum of 5, that could be something that the council just agree.
They can make a change to the city code, and then by nature, because it's an ordinance, that would trickle down to the bylaws. Right.
So what you're saying is the cleanest, easiest, not having to change the code, is to increase the quorum from 5 to 6, or to say no change.
Yes.
One other question. You could also just change the number of members from 9 to 8 and add the mayor's appointment. We're back to 9. Leave everything else the same. Just change one number.
Right, yeah.
That's what.
Yeah.
Well, that's essentially what 10 to 9 is going to be. Yeah, yes, that's how we would phrase it.
Yeah, that's good.
Go ahead.
One thing I didn't see here is how, if we have any rules for how we split the membership between city residents, West Traverse and Little Traverse. Because right now we have 2 Little Traverse, 2 West Traverse, and the rest are city residents. Is that ever been called out in terms of the minimum? You know, could we have all members be Little Traverse, all members be West, or all members be city only?
That's not codified at all.
I think right now we have 1 West Traverse and 1 who's.
I think we have.
Greg and I.
Oh, it's just only 1,
And jobs.
so 3 West Traverse?
Yes.
3, so 3 West Traverse, no Little Traverse, right? I don't think there's anyone. But anyway, so what the
Which way
rules,
do you vote?
What Chip
You
is.
go Little Traverse or West Traverse?
I haven't voted.
Chipson.
I mean, you're both.
Right.
Yeah.
so one of the ways, well, basically the Harbor Commission set up, so it has to be a representation of those who use the marina, the areas surrounding the marina. So I think what Karen is saying is if you want to get away from that vague terminology and get specific, and that's ultimately up to.
Yeah, it could be a minimum
Well, I think that's
one,
up to-
or, I mean, it's working fine the way it is, but I just know how as you look at new appointments, and as city council looks at new appointments, that's part of the consideration.
Yeah.
You know, so that there's fair representation of Little and West Traverse along with the city residents. So that really spelled out everywhere.
Yeah,
My
I think
my
that
question.
is part of the discussion. When they're looking at applicants, right? I mean, that's what I've remembered from previous years.
Right.
Looking for a balance of geography and types of people representing weekly, the point, et cetera.
I didn't know if it was actually called out really clearly, and because I sat through some of those.
It's not,
meetings,
Karen. It's been a handshake arrangement with the townships.
Mhm.
And it's always been an effort to have at least 1 member from Little Traverse and 1 member from West Traverse.
Right.
Because we do share
Right.
shoreline with them.
Right.
And it is not codified anywhere. And that is strictly a political decision the council makes when they put together their.
So we don't really need to get specific about this, what you're saying.
I
As
don't
long as
think
we have
it's in our
representation.
ballpark. I think that's clearly their obligation.
Right.
And I don't really go with it. So. Go ahead.
Getting back to the issue at hand, I would advocate for D. I think, this is a solution looking for a problem. Because, on any given meeting, if we don't have 5 people, nothing happens. We have 5, 3 can carry. If 6, it's 3-3. If 7 people show, so it depends on how, you're not gonna get you have the potential of getting a split vote, which is a fail. In every other combination of who shows up on any given meeting. So I don't quite get what the problem is. And would suggest that the simplest thing is to do nothing about it.
And I would like to get us in line with the other committees and boards. And look at B, where we reduce our membership and keep the quorum at 5. I'm not sure that we need more, and I am worried a little bit about a 5-5 vote. That it could be something important, and that does count as a no vote.
Well, all of that's thinking, which is great, relies on everybody being at every meeting, and that doesn't always happen. So there are significant number of opportunities to have that go whichever way you want.
So a way to look at it too is, and I see what, Bill, I see what you're saying, because in the other boards, the difference is, for example, the council, like if 3 council members show up, you still need all 3 council members to make it,
Stay,
it's not 2 to 1. So that's where the difference is here, is I get what you're saying, is if 5 show up, you can still make a decision because 3 don't. But then the flip to that is, you have 3 members out of the 10-member board making a decision.
Yeah.
That I don't like.
And is that what the Harbor Commission wants?
And
So
that's, I guess, my concern.
Yeah.
And I'm also looking at it from this commission only meets a limited number of months during the year. So that's true. Obviously, we all have things that come up last minute or something, but to say, well, we don't, it's okay if we only have 5 people because people miss things and people are busy. It's like, we only have 4 meetings a year. I have a hard time accepting that.
Historically, we've had people who work very hard to get to the meetings, and we generally have very good attendance.
And in the few that I have attended and been in the audience, it's not been an issue except last month. When Victor called and said, "You are coming, aren't you?"
That was kind of.
Oh,
I'd kind of be reluctant to drop it by a member, because this seems to be a commission that people want to be part of. And it would be more difficult to let those people be part of it by reducing it by even one person.
I mean, you keep it as it is or increase the quorum.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Keep it as it is. As it is, okay. Well, that's.
And then, I would also be interested in striking the majority carries at the table. If we have 6 as our quorum to have a meeting, it shouldn't be that 4 could make a decision for the 10, so to speak, on that. So I would strike that part from it and just say we had to have a majority and then raise the quorum to 6.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understand. A majority of 10 of.
The way we have it right now, if we had a meeting of 5, 3 yes votes could have carried the entire
Right.
table.
Exactly.
And in my mind, not representative of the size of the group and the scope of what we're
Okay.
trying to do. So I'd like to see that number be higher. And so we should have them raise our quorum to 6 at minimum on that. But then strike that clause so that it would take at least 4 instead of the 3 we can have right now to pass it.
Oh, okay. I see. So, but you're
And I'd
still.
rather see that be higher. And maybe it ought to be, so Victor, if we had 10, you need to have 6, and we're at 10 right now, right?
That's right.
right.
So if we struck that last clause, we need to, and we had a meeting of 6, it'd have to be 6 in favor in order for
Yeah.
something to carry. I'd be in favor of that. And if it doesn't, then you move it off to the next meeting. It's not like it's the end of the world.
I haven't been here that long. How long has online been an option to listen to the meeting but not vote?
That's been an option probably since about 2020. It's
Since the COVID year.
yeah, since we started attending streaming on YouTube and doing Zoom just kind of right when COVID started. We were doing it then, so. But you can't vote for state law.
Isn't that a state?
Is that a state law?
It's a state law.
Yeah,
They
so our
allowed you
answer
to
to
vote
that
during
is-
COVID for 6 or 8 months, and then they
That makes
Then they
sense.
said,
back.
so we still just allow participation via it, but state law says you can't vote. They have, now the state law sidetrack, they have allowed voting via remotely such as Zoom for multi-agencies that are like, for example, we're part of the Michigan Public Power Agency that has members in the Upper Peninsula all the way down to downstate. So they're allowed to meet remotely now, as of now, and
And
vote. No. But for local municipalities, they still haven't allowed that yet.
So to put something on the floor for discussion, I would move that we increase our quorum to 6. But do what's necessary to strike the clause that requires a majority of that quorum to be there.
So section 5 states that, so if you were saying that you would want 6 there to approve, so you would say a quorum of the 10, a quorum is necessary to approve or take any action on a motion.
And with the same number we have now of 10 and raising the quorum to 6, and there were only 6 members at a meeting, it would take all 6 to pass something. You could still have a meeting, but you would need that to work on anything new. And I don't think that's gonna affect what we do because we're generally a full table.
I think it's a good idea. Right.
That's a motion. Does it have a second? I'm just trying to get it moving here so we.
Right.
So the motion's been made and seconded, and Vic, do you want to read that back so we're all clear? You want me to say it again?
I can read it back. So the motion is to amend Article 2, Article 4, Section 1, to increase the quorum number from 5 members to 6 members, as well as to amend Article 4, Section 5, to require a quorum of the board to be necessary to approve or take action on any item. And what we'll do is then bring this back, that actual language, will make edits and he'll bring that actual language back for you guys to formally.
Well, let's see if it flies first. So does everybody understand the motion?
First, we're making a motion to advance this for council to approve.
Yes.
Oh, no, not yet.
Oh, first
it-
does.
It would go to get
Yeah.
codified, so to speak, and come back in language it would fit into.
Notified by Kramer,
Yeah, Jim Raymer will provide language.
and then it comes back.
Yes.
Okay.
And then we'll go to council.
So quorum is 6,
Yeah.
and it requires 6 to pass anything.
Anything, yeah.
But you can still meet,
Yes.
just can't pass anything.
No, you might.
I mean, you could, if you're unanimous,
Yeah.
if you're unanimous with 6 people.
Yeah. Okay, any other further questions? Victor, would you do a roll call vote then, please?
Is there a second?
Somebody did, yeah, Sharon did, thank you.
All right, we will start at this end. John Baker,
Yes.
Bill McCullough,
Yeah.
Greg Fisher,
Yes.
Karen Stroud,
Yes.
Quinn Bartlett,
Yes.
Karen Mahalik,
Yes.
Kathy Mattel,
Yes.
Lisa Nichol,
Yes.
and Bill Brown.
Yes.
All right, that motion passes, so we'll bring the amended language for final review, and then take it to council.
Final review next
Is
meeting.
that kind of like if the
Oh, if Jim Raymer has
council's
done by
looking
next.
for something
And
along those lines?
then from the next meeting, which is now July, it goes to council at their meeting in the beginning of August. First
Or if we can
meeting.
get the July 15th meeting, I don't know.
Okay, one
Yeah,
of the two.
and then it would go in effect after council adopts it, so, there'd be the bylaws might have. We can talk about that later, but yeah, I'll let you know when it actually goes into effect. Whenever it's signed.
Okay, good work, everybody, thank you. Michael, Harbor Master report.
We've had a pretty slow start to the season, as you can all, well, anybody that's been down there can attest to the clouds of bugs that have been unbelievable. There were a couple of days, 6 could not get in the door without a face mask on. But we are still in pretty good shape as far as transients goes. We've got 26 boats coming to us in Boyne City with a couple more that evidently just got added on by Lily to the list. Will be 28 altogether. That'll be a good shot in the arm. We're actually only $3,000 short of last year's total on the same day, which was 33. We're at $30,000 right now, which is hard to believe, but I think a lot of that's attributed to our unlimited stay policy. If somebody's in the water May 1st, they can stay right to the 5th of July. We've seen quite a few people take advantage of that. 3 more boats than we had last year take advantage of it, so we're in good shape dollar-wise right now. And as of this morning, well, I should back up a little bit. Lily Graham, who this is her 3rd year with us, she came back to us this year and she's awesome. And then Pat Rouse back for her 3rd year as well. We're gonna run a little light on staff this year. And because we just had a lot of standing around, I guess, for lack of a better word, it just keeps people's attention going. So it seems to work out better. And then Allie Careful will be joining us the weekend before the 4th, which will be perfect timing, just when we go 8 to 8. So What else we have? As of this morning, Regatta sign up is at 100 boats and we have 12 boats on the wait list, which is unprecedented. I think we'll probably see 93 or 94 boats by the time it's all said and done, which is still almost 11 boats more than last year. We'll be berthing 37 boats on our docks this year, which is why I'd like to talk to you folks about utilizing the E-Stock for any overflow that Irish can accommodate. Right now, I've been looking at 4 boats on the E-Stock, a couple of 40-footers and a 30-footer and another 30-footer. So if we could utilize that space, that'd be wonderful. Only because, once again, we're running into a rafting issue on the west wall. I just talked to Ellen Beatty today and they're gonna have the entire DeVos fleet along that dock. And it makes it really tough for the pointer boat to get them out of there safely. And makes it tough for some of the worst boat handlers we've ever seen back down that slip to get to that wall. So if we could utilize the E-Stock, that'd be much appreciated. And that would be up to you folks to let us do that.
So, just so I understand, Michael, you proposing not rafting more than one boat on the
We'd
west
be rafting
wall,
2 deep on the west wall
Okay,
right now.
but not 3.
Not 3.
You're gonna keep the 2.
Yep.
Okay, I thought, I heard you wrong backwards.
I'd be a little concerned about having more than 2 boats in that raft.
No, I did it one year and that's not a good idea.
Yeah, okay, cool. And then the best part of that is there's 10 TP52s that'll be with us for Regatta and 8 of those as of today are staying with us right to the 15th of August for that, the 52 Cup, which ties in really well with the NM presentation. Because a lot of those guys on those boats have sailed NMs before, so they'll all be probably looking for invitations to the party, but that's gonna be a really nice tie-in. It's a nice tie into your event and they're gonna be doing a party on the grass Thursday and Friday. And then their awards will be on Sunday in the on the grass next to the marina office. And it's gonna be a great event. A lot of excitement with that. So, yeah. That's where we're at.
So let's go back to the Regatta. You're looking for 120 feet of, or 160 feet of east wall space?
Yep.
And are those rafted or single tie?
They'll be single tie. But I can also raft 2 boats on that wall comfortably. My concern is that if we get an east breeze, it's pretty wild out there, but we did buy a whole bunch of huge fenders last year, so we'll be able to provide those to folks that need them. And we'll just keep an eye on it. Yeah. I'll look at the weather beforehand and we can kind of make that call as we go, but rafting right now is probably your best idea.
Is everybody okay with giving up that kind of space over there? Yeah. We don't need state approval because we own that dock. We have to work with the state on the west one. And that's why we have to move them over to the east because we're using all the space the state will let us have on the west side. So I think I'm okay with that, and especially if you can double them up.
And I did reach out to Lene Dawson, who was with the state, as she's part of their the reservation system folks. And we don't have to seek state approval we have not in the past 10 years sought state approval to utilize the West Dock. As long as you let them know that that's the case, and if we ever get involved with the reservation system, we have to let them know we're blocking out that particular time for the event, so they're all good with that, so.
When did you say Boyne City was coming in?
We actually saw a couple of boats come today, trying to beat the weather tomorrow, and the bulk will be here on Friday. Yeah, they have a really cool event at Wallstrom's on Saturday night. Yeah, that's a good bunch of people.
And speaking of reservation system, some of you may not know, but we look at that, Michael and I look at that every year, and we've reviewed it in depth at this table in the past, and there was significant strings and encumbering things that didn't fit well with us. But the state has changed its tune in the last 2 years, and we looked at it hard last, 6 months ago on this thing, and I think it may make more sense to us at some level. And we negotiated with this Lynette. I think that was the lady we were talking to about some of her requirements, and they're not as stringent as they used to be. So we'll be bringing a kind of a proposal back to this table either in July or August as we move forward with this thing. But we couldn't put it together to work for this season, but we'll see if we can set it up if it makes sense to us for next season.
They need 8 months lead time to just get their end organized and get our end plugged into their system. So if we decide to go that way.
So we look at it every year and it just didn't make sense, but it has gotten better and I think maybe it is time for us to visit and see what we think.
And they have loosened up the strings too, as JD said.
I mean, just two quick things. The reservations now, have you already, or will you make plans to let people know tentatively that the Harbor Master Building will not be available mid-September and on?
We don't take reservations, Bill. We're first.
No, I meant just people coming in. Are we gonna let people know the potential of that?
We will,
Or are gonna wait
so-
for bids?
So we will post it, like we said, we will send letters to all actually the mooring and slip holders and we'll have postings around. I don't, for people coming in transiently, it's kind of hard to notify them, but.
Well, we haven't made a decision on doing it yet either.
But what we
financially,
get-
so-
Well, we need to look at the bids, so we got to.
Yeah.
But once-
But obviously we'll let as many people as we know.
I mean, just making a public notice is a step in the
Absolutely.
right direction.
And once we have a date, if we have a date, once we have a date established for when it will be closed, then we will.
We gotta lock somebody down first.
Yeah. And I have one last question, and I don't think I fell asleep last year. There was a discussion about, the commercial use of the docks at Ford Street for the ferry and for Wallstrom. And the state's involvement with that. Was that ever resolved? There was a discussion about that.
At Ford Park,
About the state, about commercial use of state property. That was the two docks. And I made a note of that and I didn't remember. the
thought
date.
that had to do with the, no, I don't think that, I think we got that all, I think that was,
Did you?
yeah, like not a misunderstanding, but.
I mean, like I said, I don't remember it, but I just thought I had a
I
note
think
on
we're
it.
clean. So,
There was a concern at one point.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's been had.
okay.
Yeah.
So I wasn't dreaming.
well, I don't know about that, but,
I could have.
all right, Michael, thank you for your report. Good luck as we move into that heat of the summer and we're rooting for you. Any other comments from the table? We have gone through our agenda. We will meet July 10th at 4 o'clock right here and we say we are adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
Zach Jones thinks.
No, I'm sorry.
He thinks he may be off the dock 4 days earlier than they're required to be, so
Good.
they're really kicking butt.
It never iced up. I can't believe he's only 4